Kia ora, hello, I'm Philip Duncan. Thanks for joining me for our Monday weather update recorded on the 8th of September. We've got high pressure around the country at the moment, but the windy westerlies, they're surging back again as soon as tomorrow, and certainly around Wednesday and Thursday, more windy weather passes through the country, maybe another burst this coming weekend. Let's have a look at the satellite map this morning. A lot of energy to the northeast of the country and to the west around Australia. Loads of thunderstorms. Australia's got a thunderstorm outbreak across New South Wales and Victoria this week due to low pressure, and then that low is going to drift out towards us as we go into the later part of the week. But for now, high pressure is in control, and that's bringing sunnier skies, frostier weather around the country, although there's still some coastal cloudy spots around the country, especially along the eastern side. So let's have a look at the air pressure map this evening. You can see the strange looking low up there. That's a convergence line, two different high pressure zones merging, and the line in the middle is where it's calm with the clouds bubbling up. Way offshore from us, high pressure is over us, and that's the reason why we've got another cold night again tonight. But in the South Island, despite a cold night tonight, you will start to notice that nor'wester developing as we go through the evening. You can see here it's a bit of a northerly flow for the Canterbury side. Just jump up the coast and it's a southerly flow. So that high pressure zone splitting the winds apart at the moment. But it's the incoming westerlies, low pressure, spring weather that is coming out of Australia. That is really the main headline of this week. So let's have a look at the frost maps. We've got three of them to show you. Here are the first two. Frosty conditions as we go into tomorrow morning. The nor'wester, starting to see that here down around Southland with the white shading, removing the chance of frosts. And then also around Canterbury, that westerly, northwesterly, just slightly starting to build up, picks up during the day. And by Wednesday, windy weather around means not very frosty. Most of what you see on the map here probably just below zero, but with a bit of a wind around the hills and the mountains. And on to Thursday morning, well, frost return again around the South Island. Frosty conditions possibly getting right down to the coastlines in the North Island, mostly around the central volcanic plateau and some of the ranges down in the lower North Island. Otherwise, really not very frosty, but still a bit of a cold morning. Let's have a look at noon Tuesday's setup. So we've got this pool of cold polar air left over from what came through over the weekend. So that's up in the atmosphere. It doesn't cause any real issues to you on the land, but it's still cold for some of you, especially on the eastern side of the North Island. High pressure nearby, that's encouraging northwesterly winds into the North Island. They'll be strong around the Wellington, Waited Upper area, Cook Strait, Marlborough Sounds, and windier weather comes in through the Southern Alps, especially on the eastern side of them, and leaning more to the west. So around Fiordland, for example, where the mountains pop up, jump over to the eastern side, and around parts of Southland, you've got those strong winds coming through. And that lifts up the temperatures as well, especially around the South Island, as you go through the daytime period. By Wednesday, warmer weather, warmer windy westerlies carries on into the North Island, gale force gusts in exposed places. Hopefully it's just below being too problematic, but keep in mind those windy conditions will be around for much of the day. So there might be a few power outages here and there. Plenty of showers coming in off the Tasman Sea. And as we just saw in the satellite imagery, there are thunderstorms out at sea. There is the low that's producing the thunderstorm outbreak for Australia itself. So as this next cold front comes up, we might see a few thunderstorms around, and then some snow flurries along the mountains, colder southerlies coming in to the lower half of the South Island, and that will move northwards as we go into Wednesday night. So we've got a wind gust map here. This is for Wednesday evening. Areas in purple along the eastern North Island, so they're right up into the tops of the hills and the ranges, and just leaning on the eastern side. You might have some gusts there jumping up over 100 kilometres an hour. A similar story into Cook Strait. Very windy conditions coming through. So places like Taranaki, coastal parts of Waikato, and right down towards Wanganui, Manawatu, Horowhenua, those areas all getting strong westerly winds with showers might make those wind gusts even stronger, what we call squally. Here is the thunderstorm risk map for Wednesday afternoon, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. What you're seeing here in the yellow and orange says the chance of a thunderstorm. So when I see a map like that, it doesn't mean everyone here gets a thunderstorm. What it means is there's instability around, some heavy downpours, and they might be a bit squally with the chance of a thunderstorm. That is on Wednesday itself, perhaps more so into the afternoon for parts of the North Island. So let's carry on. The thunderstorms are here in that line just north of the North Island by lunchtime Thursday. Cold air pretty much from about Wellington southwards. You're under that polar airflow still, but because it's got a westerly lean to it, it won't be that cold for South Islanders anyway. North Islanders going to the South Island will notice it. South Islanders, you probably just feel like it's another day in the office because it's not overly brutally cold. These winds, sideways winds, coming from the left-hand side of the screen, the western side, so it is not being dredged up from Antarctica, despite it being the colder airflow, just sort of spilling over into the South Island. And now the low leaving Australia. That is the next system to keep an eye on. They have severe weather risks for the next 3 days ahead in Australia. We've got more details about that in our Aussie video. But by Friday, the low from New South Wales reaches the North Island, and that brings instability. By that I mean surprise showers and downpours. Whenever there is a low pressure system around, you've got the chance, when the centre comes in over you, of having both heavy downpours that may or may not have been forecast and sunny spells. So the centre of low pressure, that can cause instability, can break weather forecasts. So if you live in the North Island, that means keep up to date because the forecasts are going to move around a bit this week as we lock in what is really going on. The South Island, a lot more predictable. Although they say weather forecasters shouldn't use the word predictable. I don't know, forecastable, it's all the same stuff to me. In the South Island, drier weather around, still a bit cold in the very south, but nothing too brutal in there. But the overnight temperatures do drop again with the winds much lighter for a time on Friday night. Then again on Saturday, the next surge of windy spring-like westerlies arrives. That will push some of that colder airflow back northwards again up the South Island. It's still not a major change for you. Windy westerlies ahead of that, and into the North Island, windy southwesterlies, driving in a few showers, nothing too major in there, but coastal showers in particular along the western side of the country and down around Southland and Fiordland. Those are the areas most likely to be seeing a few showers around. But look at the low pressure down here south of the country. High pressure around the Australian area. That puts the windy westerlies smack bang over Tasmania, South Island, and the lower North Island, what we call the roaring 40s. And so more of that windy weather, which we get in September and October, even November, is likely to be picking up again this weekend. So that takes us to the wind gust map here on lunchtime Saturday. Areas in purple along the hills and ranges of Hawke's Bay, Waited Upper, down towards Wellington, potential wind gusts over 100 kilometres an hour there, and also sneaking through Cook Strait. That could affect some of the hills around places like Tasman and Takaka. As you go into the lower South Island, the next surge, a southwesterly, comes through. That could see gusty weather around Stewart Island, Southland, Otago, and also some squally showers over on the west coast might produce some localised strong wind gusts. And we go to Sunday and it's more of the same. Windy sou'westers across New Zealand. They might be a little more nor'west in some areas and a little more southerly in others, but generally speaking, it's a westerly flow, strong winds around on Sunday, showers mostly on the western side, and Southland parts of Otago might also see a few showers. It is colder for you around the South Island on Sunday, more of a southerly coming through for you, and eastern areas and northern areas most likely to be the driest. So a few things going on, typical September weather. That's all from me for today. I'll see you again tomorrow Tuesday with our next update.